What are the best sellers in emerging markets? Here you can see two pictures of Nokia products which have been very huge bestsellers in the international markets, plus they were extremely successful in the developing country markets. The first is the Nokia 3310 or 3315 on the left hand side, which sold eventually 136 million and it was retired by Nokia in 2005. On the right hand side you have the Nokia 1100, which sold more than 250 million and has since been retired. Why were these two products so successful? Let's start with the Nokia 3310 or the 3315. The most obvious reasons why it was successful are: it was priced at the lowest possible level at that time, so it was very affordable in that context. It looked very robust in construction. It had the longest battery life available at that time. It was also very reliable over a fairly long usage period. It had a good and wide service support. It had a good resale or exchange value. So overall, it provided good value or superior value to its users. But there are not so obvious reasons why the 3310 or 3315 succeeded. It had no non-essential, non-call features. It was most suitable for first-time users. It had a very simple, intuitive user interface. It had also the largest font size available in any product at that time. It was therefore the natural choice for senior citizens and semi-illiterates who found that it was closer to a public phone. So therefore, the Nokia 3315 reduced risks for all its users and especially for first-time users. Let's look at the development of the Nokia 1100, which actually followed the 3315. A small design team from Nokia, Finland, led by NID design graduate Raman Saxena, spent about 3 weeks touring the whole of India, especially rural and urban India. They met users of Nokia 3315 in villages, towns and cities to see and photograph how they live and how they maintain their phone. They took suggestions from the users on how their phone could be made better. Eventually, this field study led to some important additions in the Nokia 1100. First, the idea of a torchlight on the Nokia 1100 came from a suggestion. The idea of a removable, cleanable surface on the Nokia 1100 instead of buttons to prevent dust accumulation around the buttons was an idea that came from this research. The redesign of a better grip line on the side of the phone to avoid slippage was also a new thing which was introduced, and there was a clear red on-off button on the face of the phone, which was another addition. Did Nokia lose out in dropping the 3315? Actually, the 1100 was far smaller than the 3315 and the user interface was a bit more complex, but overall the 1100 was actually cheaper to manufacture from Nokia's point of view. The 1100 was easier to carry but more difficult for older people to read and press numbers. The 1100 font size was smaller, more difficult for visually challenged and older people to use. The 1100 was robust but looked less robust than the 3315. The keypad sort of seemed like something that will wear out easily. Such design trade-offs are sometimes required, and these design trade-offs were made by Nokia for the 1100. So the 1100 was a success, yet there were customers who still looked for the unsold Nokia 3315. Low-end phones today are too complicated for first-time users, especially the old and the semi-literate. These users are better off if you remove any of the non-essential features to improve familiarity with the product. First-time users is a good business opportunity but requires design that builds on the familiar and thus effectively reduces risks for their users.